You're listening to The Rare Remix, a place for real conversations, practical insight, and potential solutions for parents navigating life with a new rhythm.
This may not be the life you had imagined. It's a remix.
Join us as we discuss the rare wisdom parents quietly gain, celebrate victories big and small, and look for ways to make the road ahead a little easier.
Welcome to The Rare Remix,
where we roll with it.
All right, we are here with Dianne. Thanks for coming on, Dianne. We appreciate it. I will say Dianne and I are friends, and she lives here in Indiana with us, and so we know her pretty well, and we thought she'd be a great guest and had a lot to offer for our listeners. So would you mind maybe just introducing yourself and your daughter and just give a little background?
Hi, I'm Dianne, and like Lindsay said, I live in Indiana with the family, and I have a daughter who is 8 years old. Her name is Drew. Drew and Ava are classmates of some sort, so they kind of see each other in school, and they may not be in the same grade, but they see each other while they're in school. And I'm excited to do this with you guys, and I'm honored that you guys wanted me to be on your podcast. So
absolutely. Yeah, we love Drew. It's been so fun getting to know her and you and your family. I guess maybe we could give a little background on her rare disorder. And for anybody who doesn't know what Au-Kline syndrome is, just kind of base knowledge, can you just break it down a little for us?
So Au-Kline syndrome is named after two physicians, Dr. O and Dr. Klein. So they're the first ones that found, or I guess discovered, the gene that was mutated. So before it was a named syndrome, you know how it is, like they have like the genetic mutations where it's like 1.N. And all this other, all these letters and numbers. And because they discovered the gene, they named it after themselves, of course. So it was named in 2016, I believe. So if people that had an unnamed syndrome, if they were to get retested, some of them may come back with the Au-Kline syndrome. But so the oldest one that we know of that has this syndrome, I think, is in her 30s, like late 30s.
Okay.
Because she got retested. So a lot of the ones that have that diagnosis are a lot of younger kids, between like infant to probably Drew's age, like 10, 11, 12. There's a handful that are in their 20s and 30s, maybe not in 30s. Like I think there's only one or two in their 30s, a couple in their 20s, and then everybody else is younger than that.
Okay.
So Drew was diagnosed in 2021, I believe.
Same year as Ava, actually.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. So she, at the time, was like the 200th person to be diagnosed in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, so even when we got the results back, our neurogeneticist had no idea, and he had to Google it right in front. Like he was like, "Let's Google it." Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So that's how rare it is. But Au-Kline syndrome is kind of like probably a lot of other syndromes where there's it's like a range, like a spectrum.
Yep.
So there's, they're highly functional Au-Kline syndrome kids or people, or the ones that are, require a little more help. So Drew's kind of unique because her actual mutation is rare in itself, like the 1.N. whatever it is. I don't remember what it is now, but hers is like one of two people.
Oh wow!
Actual mutation.
Okay.
So the physicians are interested in her. So I do probably quarterly checkup where I go over. There's like a whole questionnaire thing that I go over, and that way it can help with research. So, but yes, Drew specifically doesn't walk, talk, or eat on her own, but there are some kids that can do all three.
Okay.
So that's just how broad the spectrum is. And it's I don't even know if you want to say it's a neuro syndrome, but I think they're still learning about it. So yeah, a lot of the kids have certain facial features. So I can tell, like, when I see the other kids, like on Facebook, our Facebook family page, I'm like, oh yeah, they all look very similar, kind of like you would see like with people with Down syndrome. So I guess that's all I really know about it so far. Just describe it like that for people that have never heard of it before. So it's a range, just like anything else, and certain people have certain characteristics. Yeah, so that's
I will say, when I was looking it up, I didn't realize how ultra rare it is. So have you ever met another family that has this disorder, or are you just kind of connected through social media or other ways?
Yeah, so the very first thing I did when we left the doctor's office after when we got the results, I got into my car, looked it up on Facebook, and sure enough, there was like an Au-Kline like Facebook page. I was like, no way. Like, I'm so lucky. This is great because then I can learn from other parents. So I think there's 2 families in Indiana that have kids with Au-Kline syndrome, but we have yet to meet up or anything. They do have a conference every year that they try to just go around different parts of the world. So then other families, like everybody has a chance to go and connect with people. Yeah. When we first got diagnosed, it was like around COVID. So the first one, they actually did a conference during COVID time. And obviously we weren't going to go. And so I think the next one is in like Washington or something this summer. Okay. So we're just waiting on one to come like a little closer that we'll try to go and meet up with the families. But so far it's all just been through social media. Yeah.
And you found that to be a useful resource to connect as far as like, struggles, but then also like for Rett syndrome too, it can be a great resource for medical knowledge and kind of what to look out for. Have you found that same?
Yes, for sure. That was actually how especially the older people with the syndrome, I looked up, I think I probably read every single post since the page got created. Yeah. And I wanted to see like what everybody was having struggles with. So that is a lot of people with Au-Kline syndrome have issues with like all of their body systems. Mm-hmm. So cardiac, neuro, bones, everything. So I asked for referrals for each specialty from our doctor. Just so we can get a baseline of everything. Yeah. And luckily we did because we found an issue with her bladder, her kidneys. Yeah. And she had to have a major surgery last summer because of it, because I asked for a baseline and they said she has a little bit of renal retention. So let's keep an eye on it. So we did it every 6 months. We did a test and it was getting worse. Yeah. And she never displayed any like signs of like UTI or any other symptoms. So just from having the actual test that we would go in for every 6 months, like showed that it was getting worse and we caught it before it messed up her kidneys.
Got to be an issue.
Yeah. So that's how I used the page to see what everybody else was having problems with. And I also share with our issues too. That way, if a new family comes on and they're like, we don't know what we're doing, what do we look for? And I would tell them this is what I did and hopefully it helps somebody else.
Yeah. I've got to say that really ties into the whole thing that we're trying to do here, which is the parents are the real experts, and to go back to what you said, like the doctor Googled it in front of you. Yeah, how wild is that? That's wild. Yeah. I mean, and so that leads to the next, thing, which is it was such a ultra rare disease. How difficult has it been or easy for you to find specialists, that to find care for Drew?
So with Au-Kline syndrome, because it was such a newly named syndrome, Doctors O and Klein were very available to us if we had to ask any questions specifically that we couldn't find help with anything else. So we've actually spoken to them. We've had video conferencing calls and things like that. Wow. Yeah. So we pretty lucky. How often does that happen?
That's
right?
Amazing.
I don't imagine often.
Right. So they said what we're doing, it's more of like support. And so everything that we're doing now, as far as like having the specialists for like neuro and ortho and urology, things like that, that's like that's all we're doing right now. There's not going to be someone that's like a specialist in Au-Kline syndrome. They're going to be a specialist in all the issues that come with the syndrome. Yeah. And then, that's kind of how I've navigated it.
When you go through and try to get equipment or a letter of medical necessity, or try to get something from, private insurance or Medicaid, has it been an issue with the ultra rare diagnosis, or is it just based on the symptoms and what the needs are? Yeah, what the needs are.
I think more of the latter because we have so many specialists, and they're like, how you fill out the paperwork, and it's like, name all the specialists you go to. Oh yeah, let me get my phone out, and here are the 20 specialists I go to, and they're kind of like, okay, this one qualifies. So we actually have not had any issues.
That's great.
I know other people do, and it sucks that way. But with her, we see them so frequently that you can't deny the documentation that the physicians write. So I have, the documents that are like, she needs this. So luckily haven't had any issues.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a double-edged sword, but I'm glad you guys haven't had issues.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You hate to say that, but it's like, luckily that Yeah.
And so jumping to, because you mentioned all the appointments and I know therapies, and I know you work full time as well. So can you share how you are navigating that aspect of life?
Lots of therapy and medication. No, but actually that does help. Like it took me a little bit to realize that I needed to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Because, just like when you're on an airplane, you put the mask on first before you help somebody else, because what good are you if you're passed out? So it took me a long time to realize, like, I need help. So I made a schedule, found a therapist, and we worked through, I don't want to say work through it because it's going to be an ongoing thing. Like, I talked to her about the struggles and just different ways to manage those.
Yeah.
So it's better. And honestly, medication too. I was a hot mess before, and I'm a little calmer now. And sometimes there's just days where Drew's having a bad day and you just feel it too.
Absorb it.
Yeah, absorb it. Exactly. And then you don't know how, like, you're dysregulated and it makes her dysregulated. So you're both like,
yes.
So it's helped me a lot. And I think a lot of times it's meeting with other parents too that have the same struggles. And obviously I'm not friends with other people that have kids that have special or Au-Kline syndrome, but they have their own challenges. So I'm constantly meeting my friends and like, hey, let's go out to eat and let's talk about what's going on, and helps them, helps me. And I think that helps a lot too.
Yeah. I think one of the things, it doesn't matter what the diagnosis is. I feel like we are all kind of in the same boat as far as some of the struggles, they overlap. So for example, Drew uses a communication device. So I wanted to ask really quickly about that and kind of hear about the journey with AAC and how you guys have navigated that.
We are really lucky to live in a place where we are in Indiana because even before I had Drew, we lived here. And then when we found out that she was going to have all these issues, we just were lucky that this was a place that accepted that and wanted to help the kids. So when she started developmental preschool here in the public school system, they introduced the AAC device. And I wanted to be an expert at everything. So I looked everything up. I was looking up different ways to get her to learn it. So I had to be an expert at it because how can I teach her if I didn't know where these buttons were? So I had to interface all the time. And it took like a good year and a half or so for her to like get used to it. She'd wake up and it was right there and she'd be like, oh, what is that? Like she would complain about it. But now when she wakes up and she sees it, she'll point to it. Yeah. Or if we're walking out the door and she doesn't have it, she'll make a noise and she'll point and say, don't forget my talker, basically. So now she's so good at it and she's funny with it. Like I, add those.
Oh, she's got sass.
Oh yeah, for sure. She's fired therapists and teachers and.
She's fired.
Oh yeah. She has a little button that says you're fired.
Oh my gosh.
So I just have she's 8. So I want her to interact with kids her age that are doing, saying those crazy things and the whole 6-7 thing. Like someone added that. I didn't add that one, but so as she gets older, we kind of change up the buttons so it fits with what her peers are doing. So it's been great. And there's been days where I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to say a word and I'm just going to talk on your talker too. And that's other ways that I've learned to teach her. Yeah. She's like, oh, mom's not talking. Okay. Let me do this too. So
I love that.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I can't imagine us doing that on Ava's eye gaze device.
She would be like, get away. She told my dad stop talking the other day.
Yeah.
Because he was talking over her show.
Oh my God.
But I do have to say, listening to you talk and saying, you had to learn how to set it up and you had to learn it. To everyone listening out there, the kids don't get it right away because the adults that are fully functioning don't get it. And so it's a learning process for everyone involved, from the parents to the kids to the school to any of the aides that they have. And I think you really hit on it. And it's something that's never done. You always continue to find new ways to do it. But yeah, I'll stop talking if Abe was here. I'm sure she would do it.
Stop talking. Oh, man. Yeah, no, Drew is amazing. And we should say that she has functional hand use, so she uses her hands for her device. So, some kids can use their hands still. Some have to use eye gaze. So there are different ways for anybody listening that isn't familiar with AAC, different modes of communication there. I wanted to ask, because I loved your response to this pre-interview question about what do you celebrate now with Drew, now that you have her and her diagnosis?
Anything, everything and anything. There are days where she'll wake up and she'll just make a sound that's different that you just never heard of. You're like, oh, you made a T sound today. Like, I've never heard you say a T sound before. So you're like, oh, that's awesome. And then you try to get her to do it again. And she's like, no, not today. I'm like, oh. So, we still celebrate it and we'll high five and make a big deal. And that way she knows that I'm excited for her and proud of her. So the sounds are a big thing. Standing, because she doesn't walk. So if she stands even half a second more than she did 2 days ago, I'm like, oh yeah, I know you can walk. And we'll joke about it. I'll tell her, I'm like, you probably walk in the middle of the night while we're sleeping and you're getting stuff out of the fridge. Like we kind of just, say, oh, I know you could do this.
Yeah.
So we celebrate everything. Like yesterday, I took a whole bag of marshmallows, mini marshmallows in the car while we drove to therapy. And I was just like handing it to her to see what she would do. And she was eating it. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's eating marshmallows. And she has a feeding tube. So I was excited about that. So I'm like, okay,
that's amazing.
Marshmallows. I got to pack marshmallows all the time.
Costco.
Exactly, right? Well, I don't know about Ava, but like Drew, like I'll get excited about something and I'll go and buy it and then she'll never eat it again.
Yes. And I feel like that is across the board. Typical kids, special needs kids, like, they always are stinkers like that.
Right. But that's what you get excited for it. So you're going to do, going to just try to do more of it. So that's how we celebrate every day. And and probably a lot, you guys get this where they'll do more for somebody else.
Yep.
Yeah. So like the teachers will say, for example, for the longest time, I didn't know she could feed herself with a spoon until I saw a picture that the school sent me. And I was like, oh, was she feeding herself? They're like, yeah, she can use a spoon. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. Wait, hold on now.
Right. So, so then I show her the picture and I'm like, I know you could do this. So I will show her and I'm like, you feed yourself, and like, we'll get excited about that. So it's just,
I love
just
that.
every, different things every day.
We got kicked out of therapy because we would always go back and be with her. And, Drew goes to the same place. And so we'd always be back there. And Ava stopped performing. And so the therapist kicked us out. And I was like, oh, well, I guess she is 7 years old,
Yeah. I tell them all the time, like, she'll do more for you. So I'm just going to sit here. And even with when we were at the hippotherapy place, the horse therapy, and she'd ride by where the parent
window was.
Yeah. And I'm like on my phone or I'm working or something, and another parent who doesn't know Drew, they're like, oh, she's waving at you. I'm like, no, she's waving at you, actually. So she's more excited to perform for you. And then I'll look up and she'll be like, she'll just look at me like, why are you looking at me? So I have to pretend that I'm not noticing, but like I notice everything. So I just want her to do the best that she can, and we'll celebrate that behind our, closed doors. So
absolutely. I feel like, you, with this life, you just get this different perspective about everything. And I'm sure you had a vision for what life would be like with your daughter. And when she was diagnosed, it's like, well, that's not what it is anymore. And I feel like that's what we're trying to represent here. And that, it's not worse. It's just different.
Exactly.
And so, I love that you have just that celebration for all the little things.
I believe the branding is remixed.
Yes. Throw it in there. What is a problem perhaps that other parents like us deal with that you feel like maybe you have figured out, and it doesn't have to be fully figured out? Like you're on the journey to, okay, I think I got this figured out now.
I think it's like just asking for help, because we didn't know about any of these programs from like our doctors, our case manager. Well, we didn't even know about case managers. It was like you rely on the doctors that you see to tell you or help you find these programs, these resources. And we didn't know about Medicaid or Medicaid waiver until our early interventional PT told us about it. And then I realized, like, no one's going to tell me these things. I have to go out and ask for help.
Yeah.
So that's where meeting other people that are on the same journey comes into play, because I may know something about this and like know a bunch about it, but then like you may know something about this program. And we just swap like what we know and like all the tips and tricks. So I am very open about what Drew is going through or what we're going through, because it may help somebody else. And then hopefully that helps them feel comfortable in sharing what is going on with them. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know any of that. And tell me more.
Yep.
So that's how I try to help navigate, and how to, what was it, like the actual question was like how you figured something out. Yeah. Like how I figured out like a challenge or how to fix it. Like that's just me asking for help and seeing what everybody else knows and like just coming up with a pool of knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, I know when we moved here, because the Medicaid and the waiver is so big and it's so different in every state, and it's such a process. So I know we've come to you for questions. And so for anyone listening, do you have any websites you go to or resources or somewhere where you might direct somebody new?
Yeah, especially around here. So I'm sure every state has it, but I would definitely have them look in there, like on Facebook, and look for like a parent special needs page, because I think a lot of those posts are like for a lot of new people. So you look, use the search bar and say like Medicaid waiver, or schools, or physicians, or the hospital system, and you can find all kinds of things. And so that's the very first thing that I tell people when I know that they're new to our state. I'm like, go to this page, like, be a part of it, and then start looking things up that pertain to your situation. So that's the big thing that I tell people.
Yeah. And I think searching within those groups is really useful too, because a lot of people do ask questions that are, specific to one area or whatever. So searching kind of eliminates all the fluff that you're maybe not looking for, and then hones in on what that subject you want more info on.
I'm going to do a plug here and say one of the things that I've done, because understanding these programs, waiver program and Medicaid, and how it all connects, and who you're talking to when you go to appeal something or send a letter in. I used to do this, without it, but now AI is out there. I had AI create a flow chart or an org chart, and it shows exactly who's in charge, FSSA at the top, and it goes down through. And so now I can be like, okay, this letter's from here. This is where we're at in the chart. This is who I need to address it to. And I can start walking through that. And so for anyone listening, there will be a blog post about that, and you'll be able to have some resources. And that's just one thing. We've learned when we moved here about the waiver, that there's multiple waivers, and then I was applying for the wrong one for Ava, and I needed to get on the other waiver, and now it's a new name. And so you're absolutely right. It's the parents, again, who are the experts. It's the Facebook groups. Yeah. And the doctors may give you one little tidbit, but it's certainly not even scratching the surface.
Yeah, they're not the ones living this life. So, yeah, they're maybe not digging in as much as we are. That's an important thing to mention. The other thing I know that you are very knowledgeable about is surveying places for accessibility, because I know you always post places where there's an adult-sized changing table or something very accessible like a park. So I just wanted to pick your brain about your experience with that.
What I usually do is I'll go somewhere first before taking Drew, because if it's not accessible, or if I have to think on my feet of how I'm going to get her to enjoy this activity or whatever, I may get frustrated, and then it's just not good. It's not fun for either one of us. So I'll try to go first and just see like if there is a wheelchair ramp, the seating, like if it's like an event center or something, the bathrooms for sure. Like you said, the changing tables are a huge thing, especially now that Drew is 8. A lot of those changing tables only go to 50 pounds, and she's over 50 pounds. So how do you change a kid that needs a changing table still? Yeah. And this area is really good about including like those changing tables for adults, and adjustable, like up and down. So that's a big thing too. If it's adjustable, I'm like, guys, it goes up and down. Don't hurt your back. I get so excited about it. And then even like I'll even think about, like, Drew does not have the diagnosis of autism, but I'll think about my friends who have kids with autism, and I'll say, there's a sensory room. Here's what it looks like. I'll take a picture of it. Here's where it's located in the arena or whatever. So I try to scope out everything that I know my own friends would want to know if they're trying to bring their kids out. So that's probably my big thing. I try to venture to areas that are not our city, because even though our city is great, there's a whole world out there. So I want to see where else I can take Drew. So I try to do all that first, and with my friends or whatever, I think I've done it so much that my friends even like my friends that don't have special needs kids.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
They'll say like, oh, there's a ramp there, or I'll even ask them like, did you notice if it had this? And they're like, oh yeah, I did. It was great in there, and they'll tell me, like, so they keep an eye out for me too. So
I love that our friends and family, the advocacy is kind of bleeding into our relationships elsewhere, because I think it's so important, and you don't know until you are sort of doing it, and
until
you have to
you're in the middle of
it.
an arena and your daughter's, gone to the restroom in her diaper, and you're like, oh God, what do I do? And there's only, urinal, these long stalls, so I can't take her in. And then Lindsay's got to do, the female room, and there's nowhere to change. It's exactly. It's a nightmare.
It can be tricky. I will say one tip that we learned from another parent too is a camping cot. It folds up, and it's like a folding chair. So if you're on a road trip, and they have like, child or kid size ones. Yeah. So we bought that before.
Off Amazon. Yep. It's like $30.
And it just like folds up in your car, and then you pull it out just like a camping chair, but it's actually like a cot. So you can change them on the cot. again, from a parent. So I
like
think
that.
this is kind of the whole point, is just sharing these ideas across the board. So
That's great.
what is one thing that you've learned during this journey that you think that everybody would benefit from knowing?
I think so. Actually, learned this from Drew's speech therapist early on, because I was guilty of it too. Where I hate to say it, but I didn't give Drew all the credit. And her speech therapist said we always assume competency.
Yeah.
So talk to them like you would any other person. So then I was like, yeah, you're right. And then I had to remember, like, no, if I treat her like she doesn't know, she's probably going to be like, oh, like kind of enables her to not work hard. So now it's totally different where I'm like, I know you know how to do this. So, and I'll talk to her like even though she's nonverbal, I'll have a full on conversation with her. I'm like talking to myself the whole time, but I'm like, bro, come on. Like, I'm giving her like these slang words and she laughs at me and I'm laughing. And so I'm talking to her like I would any other kid. And I hope that other people would do the same thing for her, because she understands a lot more than what we know, what she is able to tell us that she knows. So, and I do that with my other friends too. Instead of saying hi to just the parent, I'm always like, hi, Ava. I'm speaking to the child also and letting them know that I see them and they're part of our get together.
Yeah.
And I want the public, like I want everybody to do that for our kids.
Yeah. And that's a hard thing to teach somebody, right? Because I think that, like you, I was the same way. And not that I had a lot of involvement with nonverbal people before this, but, you don't know what you don't know again. So I think it's so important that listeners understand that just because somebody is nonverbal, that doesn't mean they cannot feel or communicate in some way or don't have the cognitive ability. So I think that's a great piece of advice.
I gotta say, my pet peeve on this is I hate, like, it's great to get down on their level sometimes if they're in a chair, fine. But when you get in their face like they're a toddler or like they're a baby and you baby them, a lot of the rec girls just turn away and look away from you, and I'm sure Drew gets pissed off too about it.
You know what she does? She pulls their hair. And then we put on her talker personal space. And then she'll say like personal space.
Oh, I love it.
Because a lot of, even like kids her own age, the kids don't understand either. They're learning. So when they're in her face talking to her like a baby, she smacks them. She pulls their hair.
Yeah.
And then the teacher. Right. Yes, yeah. But that tells me like she knows like you wouldn't want somebody in your face. So her teachers were like, we put in like personal space in there. So Drew like can advocate for herself. Like, get on my face, bro. Like you're too much.
You should put that in there. Get out my face, bro.
I think I'm adding that to Ava's talker when we get home. I love that. This was off script, but have you found a way to, with other kids, kind of instill this in them, because this is hard enough for adults? Have you figured out a way to explain to other kids very well, hey, she's just like you?
That's a good question. I kind of just see how they interact with her first. Mm-hmm. And I guess the kids that I see that interact with her are kids from her school.
Right.
So they know about her already. So I don't know what it was like when they first met her, but they're very, they know her likes and what makes her excited. So they'll play ball with her, or I don't know if you guys know this, her favorite song is the national anthem. So
oh, really?
So they'll like play the national anthem on their phone, or, they'll get their parents' phone and play it, or they'll sing it or whatever. Like she went to summer camp the other day and her helper told me that they did a whole concert and the kids played the national anthem. They sang the national anthem because they knew Drew, like that's her favorite song, before they went on to their like show.
That is so cool.
So I think it's just like if whoever's with her, like the adult that's with her, if they, they just give them some tips and tricks, and a lot of kids are just like, okay. And then they'll play ball and the kids are actually better. They will try to think of something that helps, that the kid Drew
they
likes.
can relate to.
Right, right. So Drew's favorite thing is throwing balls. So the boys love her because they're throwing baseballs and footballs and stuff, and Drew's throwing the ball back at them. But I'm like, she's just playing fetch with you guys, right? Because she'll throw it and they'll go fetch it. So it's her favorite thing.
That's a good golden retriever.
Yeah, so she knows what she's doing. So yeah, but the kids are great. They, they've been really good with her. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's something I'm still working on. So I love to hear your input on that.
We were just at a park yesterday, and some little girl that was, playing on the same thing that we were playing with, and it's so difficult because you're walking, Ava around, and I say walking, like we're holding her so she can take assisted steps, and the girl goes, "What's wrong with your legs?" And you're like, "How do I answer that?" And Lindsay did a good job.
No, I think that is and Ava's 7. So, we've had a little experience with this. And I know we've been at the park together sometimes and kids have said things and it's so hard to know what to do. But I think it's always that element of how did these kids relate back to our kids? And you try to level the playing field in some way. So, for example, yesterday, this girl had asked about Ava's braces. She has flamingos on her braces. So I said, she picked these cool braces out and they have flamingos. Do you like flamingos? And then maybe that's a segue into some kind of discussion happening.
You don't have to ignore us. We're happy to interact. Matter of fact, Ava thrives on it.
Exactly.
We go to the park. She may not be able to play in anything, but being around the kids laughing, she loves it.
Yeah.
Same with Drew. I think a big one, too, now, when you talked about the braces and the flamingo thing, like with Drew, she always has her communication device. So a lot of kids think it's like an iPad, like she's watching like YouTube and I'll show them. I'm like, hey, do you want to see, this is how she talks to you guys? And I'll like whisper in Drew's ear, tell him what your name is or something. And Drew will say, my name is Drew. So, and then we'll ask what the kid, like that kid's name is. And if she knows somebody with that name already in her talker, I'll say, Drew, an Ava, like tell me where Ava is on here. And she'll go and hit Ava. And they're so fascinated by it. So then they're like, oh, that's so cool. And then she'll, she loves the attention. So I'll have her say all these other things. And that's kind of how it breaks the ice for them, I think.
Yeah, I love that. I did want to ask, and I want to ask all of our guests this, about what kind of superpower you feel like you have gained from this journey.
I definitely said patience on that one.
You did.
I think prior to Drew, it was like not a whole lot of patience. You say you want something done and you want it done now, but now Drew was 10 days late, 11 days late, actually, past her due date.
Oh, okay.
And I should have known then, like, it was going to be on Drew's time. So that was like my first, like, lesson in patience, because I was like, it was the summertime. She's a 7-11 baby. So like she was supposed to be born on 6:30.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, this kid, I don't know what's happening. So like that was my first lesson in patience. And then when she was born and then we, found out all these other things going on, I was like, okay, I can't force her to do anything. Like I can't force her to meet these milestones. I can't, I really have to be patient with, go on her own time, and that's okay. So that's a big one. And it helps me with like my, my career and all those things. So I'm like I can be patient with these people that I work with. And so it's helped me all around. A much more patient person. So
I think that is a great thing to mention. And there's so many ways you could take this, right? Because we have to be patient for insurance approvals and patient for doctor's appointments. And there are so many things. It's not even just with our kid. It's just this entire life of, you have to have this patience about you.
Our last guest said something that really stuck with me. And to go with the patience, like to just imagine being in your daughter's life or in your son's role or whatever the case is, being in their body for a day. Imagine the patience our kids have.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I think that's a great point too. Yeah, I always try to think about that with Ava, and that like I'm feeling very frustrated in the situation, whatever it may be, but let's take a step back. How does Ava really feel about this? And I think more than often than not, they're being a lot more patient than we are.
So right. Yeah. Yep. That's a good way to look at that.
I guess if there's anything we didn't hit on or something else that you wanted to mention, it would be great to have you do that now.
I don't think so. I think you got some good questions, and I hope it helps other parents navigate and reach out. And don't be embarrassed to ask for help, and build your community of moms and dads that you're going to learn so much from everybody. So I hope this helps somebody out there.
Well, thank you so much. This has been awesome, and we appreciate your time and having you on.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in.